So I want to get into that. I want to quarterback real quick, man. So, because this is very interesting. This is probably the first time that I've actually, that I've been able to talk to somebody who's been to Somalia, and I know you have. Can you kind of walk us through that, man? Because I'm sure everybody's listening to this. We're all pretty curious about what it was like, man. I mean, you're there, Rangers, kind of walk us through it, man.
So interestingly, we did the train up. So we were on a JRX in Texas and had gotten a word that there was stuff going on in Mogadishu. There was aid that was being sent, and the warlords were basically fighting over the aid and killing people. And we got the word that, like, the president said, if one other person gets killed, we're going to send somebody over there to, secure the whole thing and start this mission. And, we were all, yeah, that'll never happen, blah, blah, blah. And about a week later, we got the call and got sent to Fort Bragg to start a train up. And so we went to the Combat Applications Group facility, landed there in helicopters, and down the road comes all the team vans with all the guys from the unit in it. And the first guy that I see was a guy that I had gone to Ranger school with, who is also depicted in the movie as the guy who says, "This is my safety."
Oh, shit.
And so he and I went to Ranger school together and knew each other from there. And so I kind of, and because I had been to Ranger school and was a little bit, not senior, but, kind of had an in with those guys and being able to talk with them. But Mogadishu in itself, I mean, if there's one thing I'll say, it's more about all of the things that we did that weren't depicted in the movie or the book. Mm-hmm. And, there were a lot of other operations that were highly successful. Some of the first times, like VI and things like that have become TTPs later on. And, some of that stuff was kind of being utilized way, way back. And anyway, and then that day, those 2 days itself, I mean, it's hard to explain, but I never faced anything in Afghanistan or in Iraq that was as significant as, what was happening in Mogadishu in terms of, it was literally fighting for your life for 18 hours. And I don't think anybody thought that they were going to live. It kind of hit that pinnacle of, like, this is a life or death situation for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. It was significant. Both of my best friends were killed, and witnessed that. And that was kind of the start point of, like, this is real. This isn't a game.
Right. One thing I wanted to, so that's pretty interesting, man. Thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you this. So I think a lot of people that go through, you're talking about realism here, right? We're talking about war and combat and life and death, and it always, every person reaches that cross point where the realism hits, and you can take it, either way. Either it makes you stronger and you keep going forward, or you're saying, hey, you know what, this is it, and I can't do this anymore, right? So it sounds like to me like that. From there, did it give you, like, even more of the motivation, more of a reason to move forward and keep going? Am I correct?
Yeah, it was something that I guess I felt like afterwards, the majority so first of all, that whole thing happens, and there were people, a ton of people that I never saw again. I never got to say goodbye to. I never got to go to their memorial service because we were still deployed when the memorial services were happening, et cetera. And, that's something that just dealing with that for the first time was unique in itself. And then getting back, there were guys, so out of 120 Rangers that were on the ground that day, maybe 120 Rangers, I think there were 77 Purple Hearts, and then, there were 6 Rangers killed in action. So the fighting force was significantly smaller than kind of what's depicted in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the guys that were moving around through the city trying to get to crash sites and everything else, it was a really small group of people. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of guys that we didn't see for 8 months later, a year later, because, Todd Blackburn, as an example, last time I saw him was getting him in the back, his body, he wasn't killed, but fell off the fast rope, which kind of like started the whole tailspin of the whole day. But the last I saw him was putting him in the back of a Humvee.
Wow.
You know, so, and then, you don't see this person again for a year, 2 years. So that in itself was a big adjustment. Most of the guys that served over there in the Ranger capacity, those guys got out of the Army. And I think it was one of those things where they saw the wizard, and the wizard was fucking big and ugly and scary. And that was it. And not to take anything away from anybody, one of the things that helped me most was actually staying in and deploying again. It was almost therapeutic.
Wow.
In that, not every mission is going to be this fight to the death. It's different.